Hello, Papua New Guinea, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome to a special edition of Tanim Graun. Today we celebrate the 16 days of human rights activism and how your voice, the voice of everyday Papua New Guineans, can help change this nation. The women of Papua New Guinea face horrific rates of domestic violence and sexual assault and encounter discrimination in their homes, communities, and workplaces. They endure back-breaking work as mothers, laborers, and gardeners, and bear the brunt of poor family planning and low standards of maternal health care. With modernization, there is growing awareness of the daily challenges and human rights abuses faced by Papua New Guinea's women. Efforts by government of Papua New Guinea and international donors work to combat gender-based violence and discrimination and to improve health and education outcomes for women and girls. But is enough being done? To mark the UN's 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, Tanim Graun poses this question: is life improving for the women of Papua New Guinea? Please join me in welcoming a wonderful group of people who work to improve the lives of women in PNG. I have Honorable Julie Soso Akeke, who is the Governor of Eastern Highlands Province. Please make her feel welcome. I have Ian Lapu. Ian is from Oxfam International PNG, and he is actually a man who advocates for women. We're proud to have you on our show. We have Ipul Powasiu. Ipul is the co-chairperson for PNG Assembly of Disabled Persons. Welcome, Ipul. I have Mr. Torek Fahadi. Torek is Senior Advisor for Business to Business Manager with the International Trade Center. Welcome. Charlene Gawi. Charlene has an interesting job. She's the head of the PNG Bilum Promotion and Export Association. Welcome, Charlene. And finally, Monica Otto. Monica is Executive Director for Foundation of Women in Agriculture Development. Welcome, Monica. As a matter of policy, we actually try to have gender equity on this panel. Now, I'm happy to say that this is the first show where the women outnumber the men. Now, Governor, is life improving for women in Papua New Guinea?
In my electorate, my province of Eastern Highlands, the life of women improving, but not at a speedy scale. It's only just a small scale. We are just getting there with the government supporting the MPs with PSIP, DSIP. Rural infrastructures are being improved, and we are also women, our girls, daughters, and girls are being educated because of the free education. They have access to education at all levels. But the women, we're still lacking in some service delivery, like you having the simple basics like water supply to their doorsteps, and you have rural electrification going to their doorstep. This would also enhance their livelihood. But right now, I think life is still slowly improving.
Thank you, Governor. I'll go around the table. Ipul, where you're working, do you find that there's maybe a culture of indifference in the treatment of women in our society?
And in terms of our girls getting an education, there are a lot of girls getting an education. But again, it's when they finish education, and it goes back to what the governor is saying at that political level, decision-making level. That's where the question is, because I think that's where you know, when you talk about development, it starts from there coming down. Even though the base in the rural area, you talk about 80% of the rural area subsistent farmers, it's really the women who are doing those work. And so the question is, how do we define improvement? And that's something that we really have to, you know, when you say it's improving, what is it that we are measuring against?
Okay. Well, Monica, can I bring you in on this discussion? Is life improving for women in Papua New Guinea?
I'm in the rural areas and I work with rural women and the families, and the answer is no. The logic behind that no is because I think Papua New Guinea is going to its own crisis. It is an identity crisis from the top of the government level right down to the very roots. We had a system in place where women had a society that was trouble-free. Though they say that Papua New Guinea were men hunters, there was a reason for doing it. So we may be branded as that because outside see it differently. Life had not improved from women in rural areas. They are looking for good education system. They're looking for good road system. Where there was once good road, where no 4x4 can go in, two-wheel car can go in, now you cannot even drive in. Women along the highway of Sipi, they do have access. They are the ones who comes to town. People in Ampunti, Durekikia, Nukulumi that I go. I have to get a 4x4 in order to go to Nukulumi to see my project people, and it is not a good road for a person like me who's got so many grandchildren. For youngsters like you go there and you're going to come back straight to Port Moresby. Then we're going to create that gap. The poor gets poorer, those who live in the remote communities, and those who think we've got a high fly in Port Moresby, Lae, Veruca. You have an identity, and your identity here in Papua New Guinea is land. It's not like Australian government or other countries that you do not have land. We've lost our identity. That identity is our land. That identity is our family unit. That identity is knowing and giving and valuing. And in an introduced society, we have clashes. Money is talking, fiat money is talking. Yet the key area is out there, women are struggling to work on the land, and they fight in order to bring their produce to the market. They fight to compete with men who wants to get on a PMV to come to the Wewak town. They have to fight, to find a PMV to go back to Maprik or Ampunti or Drekikia. So to me, life has not improved. It has gone worse. And there are many young girls who would want to go to school, but their life is in fear because they do not want to be raped. They don't want to have an early childhood because their parents are stopping them. And I think Papua New Guinea need to look at it. Where is the identity here? Your identity as a Papua New Guinea man, Metropolitan Society, that's a woman who owns the land. Metropolitan Society, a man owns the land. How much has government of Papua New Guinea had put money into people who've got land or people who have started something on their land? And yet we get people like miners coming in and big money poured in and extracting all our resources out. Is that life improvement for Papua New Guinea women and family alone? We look at African country. Let us look at our society here in Port Moresby. I've heard Australian government had pumping money to the youths of Port Moresby, attracting rural migration. We have to take it back to the community where there is surplus land available. And yet you got investors interested in our land. Is that the identity? I was with Boykin Catholic priest, and they said, oh, these coconut plantations belong to Catholic priests. And I said, SVD didn't bring the land. Boykin people own the land. You've got to allow Boykin people to develop their land. And he listened, and he allowed the youths to clean the coconut area and plant cocoa trees. So my answer to the panelists and the community, I am blunt. I have everything for Papua New Guinea, and I believe I'm struggling for government to hear me. And recently, 2014, our father of the nation and the first prime minister of Papua New Guinea recognized what the simple women and youths were doing, and he gave us 500,000 kina. On this panel, I can proudly say, Australian government, you have done a great to foundation of women in agriculture development. Although I was in the provincial level and district level, they see a lot of my outreach program. Not even one toya came from Papua New Guinea government. So thank you, Australian aid.
Charlene, I'm going to bring you in. That was powerful, but I'll bring you in.
Yes. So I represent the PNG Bilum Promotion and Export Association. We were in the paper a few days ago, having just launched our constitution, and very powerful remarks there by Monica. And I think it's really good to get that that perspective from the rural areas. What we're finding in the project that we're doing is that what we try to do is help the small women making bilums. So like what Monica said, it's funded by the Australian government as well. And we'd really like to thank them too while I have the floor. They have put money into this, believing that we can export bilum product and give women the value for money that they can get out of this thing that they're already doing. We're trying to get more women entrepreneurs, more women, giving them monetary power, I believe gives them access to transportation, gives them access to education, better health, all those sorts of things. So this initiative is really to put money into the pockets of the women in the rural areas, women that have that skill. And we're finding that a lot of women in areas like, we're visiting a village in the Wasara district in the Isipik province. And about 4 villages of women are going to come and attend the training, 50 women out of the 4 villages. There's about 1,500 to 1,700 women, and all of them know how to make bilum. And what we're hearing too is some of the men know how to make bilum now. And if we can help them sell one bilum for somewhere between $100 to $200, that's going to really help them have an additional market outside of Papua New Guinea, instead of just selling it in front of their shops or their homes or in the local markets. And that's going to go a long way in giving them finances to help educate their children, to help have access to better healthcare, to not fight with the men to be transported to town. They can afford, to hire a vehicle or get in a secure transport that's reliable to get them to and from to conduct other business. So we're really excited about that. I'd like to also mention the International Trade Center. We've touched on the United Nations and the involvement. The International Trade Center, which Torak is part of, is a UN agency that specializes in trade and export development. And they are helping us set this up. And after the project is over, it's going to be fully run by us. We've just accepted a constitution 2 days ago that is fully Papua New Guinean and according to the laws of the land. And we're really excited about what we can do through the Bilum project to expand the markets and help the rural women.
Thank you, Charlene. Now let's go to the other gender. Torek.
Well, Alan, thank you very much. To the question, is life improving for women in Papua New Guinea? If we're having this conversation today, it's a good start. Engaging this kind of conversation is very important. I think at the end of the day, women need to be part of the decision-making system on topics that affect their lives. What are those topics? Topics of health, topics of family, topics of society, but then, and the justice system, frankly. So I think we are never done with this challenge. It's a universal challenge in other countries as well. The topic of involving women is still an ongoing discussion at different degrees. And but the advocacy to bring women to the path of political leadership, the advocacy to bring women to the business world, where, for instance, the Bilum project is a way of showing women how to become international business people. The path to give a participation woman in the justice system. These are, I think, main blocks that will affect how society will change, and families will change. And it has to start at the grassroots. It has to start engaging men in this conversation.
Well, that's a good point. Now I want to go to someone who is advocating for women.
I would definitely agree with maybe 3 or 4 of us. Thank you, Governor, and thank you, Alan Baird. For women, is life for women in Papua New Guinea improving? I would agree with Monica and my good governor that the answer is no. Why? I come from an organization, Oxfam, and we have 3 programs, but I'm not going to talk about all 3, but just one, which is gender justice. Okay, in gender justice or ending violence against women is a very big issue in Papua New Guinea, and we all know that. Every time when we walk out the door, you will see a woman trying to buy a bilnut just up the road on the bypass. And, you know, this man will come in and try to, okay, that's harassment, eh? So you see, there's a lot of areas where we need to work on. And one of the biggest challenges that we do now is to get the right information out to the man and change the way they think. It's about their mindset. We hear stories on the newspapers and medias and social medias about all kinds of violence against women, including sorcery. The rates are going up. We have a lot of rates of violence against women ending up with the counseling services, or they go to the refuge home, or through the legal and the police. If we go and extract information from these sectorals, we will find that the rates of women or the violence against women is so high and huge. So, meaning that the answer is no. What do we do now? The way forward now is for every one of us to sit down and ask this question again, and then try to discuss the nitty-gritty part of it. And that is to put the strategies and the mechanics in place, including the resources. And I'm glad that Mama Soso, you are on the panel. We are also up in Goroka, in 9 provinces with 13 partners throughout the country. And in Eastern Islands, we're working closely with one of the HRDN, or Human Rights Defenders Network. They are the local NGO or civil societies on the ground, mothers, local mothers. Now they are out there trying to rescue women who have been accused of sorcery. So that's the kind of approach we're saying. Even we're saying that is life improving? Well, what about the mother right at the back page where there's no information, no services? And this woman is so innocent that someone accused her just because of the land, and now her life is at risk or threat or harm. What do we do if she's right at the back? So these are some of the challenges. No, the answer is no. Thank you.
Governor, yes?
Just like to come in there. Yes, the answer is not yet. The woman's life is not improving yet. But in my speech, I said with the funds that is coming down straight to us now from the PSIPs and the DSIPs that is coming to the MPs and the governors, there's some sort of improvement. In my province, when I became the governor, before becoming a governor, I was the president of Eastern Highlands Provincial Women's Council, which is the network, the national network, the largest national network of the women's network. And it's structured all the way down to the district. And in Eastern Highlands, I wanted us to implement the organic law on decentralization, and implementation of the provincial government policies be done at the rural level at the LLG wards. So in Eastern Highlands, we have about 264 local level ward councillors, and the Women's Council, the Women's Council Network in Eastern Highlands was asked to structure themselves in parallel with the government structure. So they are structured together with the local level government council, ward councillors, which is 264. The Women's Council has the Women's Council executive at the provincial level, and then they have the district level executives. Then we have the Ward Women's Association. So after being president for 15 to 20 years, I saw that there was no support coming from the government. So that's why I was continuously putting my hands up to become the governor, so that the women can realize their equity. So when I became the governor, I gave them about 5 million for the youth and the women alone for the credit scheme project. And the women themselves, they have about 2.64 million going all the way to the ward level, the Ward Women's Association. So that's a 10,000 kina each for the Ward Women's Association. And the Ward Women's Association president is asked with the 10 million tasks to build a resource center, a learning center. This is where I believe all other NGOs could partner together. Like we have Oxfam here, and we have Family Voice in Eastern Highlands, and we have all other interest group NGOs everywhere. These NGOs should be all working together, integrating their programs into this structure so that it goes down to the women at that level and they can be empowered to be taking part at decision-making levels. So I'm proud that in Eastern Highlands I have my women at the ward level who are in the ward development committee, and they are coming up with ward plans. So they've got 1 or 2 or 3 priorities on what they want in their ward. So as a government, I support them, and I'm appealing to international NGOs too. If we have to support women, we look at structures that are already in place, and the Women's Council is in place. So we need to support this Women's Council network. We need to put our funds where the people are. We are putting funds into all other organizations, and it's been, it's been broken into pieces, and it's not going to where the people are. It has to go to where the people are. So in Eastern Highlands, we are doing that, and I'm also proud that in the justice level, we have village courts in Eastern Highlands which have 1 or 2 women who are village court magistrates in every village courts. So this is putting women already at decision-making level, and the best village court magistrates in Eastern Highlands are the women.
Oh, sorry, just to add on what our good governor has just mentioned, early this year, I went mapping in 4 provinces. That's Ella, Southern Highlands, Enga Province, and Western Highlands Province. And during that mapping exercise, I was just so interested about the provincial development plans and where the JESI fits in and how the existing structure in the province that whoever we want to go in and develop, we should tap on that. And then focus all the resources and everything on that existing one, because the more we create new wheels, the more complicated it can be. Yeah? So I'm pretty much appreciated that, and I'm really sure that with that kind of model governor or leader in parliament, I'm pretty sure that we can convince others to get on board and make it happen for the good and for the change. Thank you.
Wow, 2017 is starting a bit early.
My questions would be that, it's good to have a lady governor who has a heart of a mother to feed those who need caring. And the question is that, will a governor come back to politics again? With all the good work she's doing, is it going to sustain itself? Now, I work with the Civic Council of Women. I'm having problems with them. We have a new Maprik Town Development Committee, and I was asked by the women there to represent them as a president of Maprik Urban. And I was put off by ECP Council of Women. You're too highly educated. You're running your own NGO. You're not supposed to run. And my ward 5, believe in me. But the question I want to pose on all of us here and you guys here is that I made my why Papua New Guinea women are improving or not is the identity crisis. And that is the land itself and the people of Papua New Guinea and the beautiful cultural heritage we have. We have education system who are telling our youths that they can get a job. Is it happening? And we are forgetting our men who are the co-decision maker in patrilineal society. Can women come out think our governor is here and the Oro provincial governor is there? They have won the hearts of their voters to come out. And government is thinking of getting women, just nominate them to go in politics. I don't think that's an idea. She earned where she is now. That's why she's getting the support. And men need to be equally emphasize that they too need training.
We're going to go now to a gender-based violence talkout. This is not going to slow down. This might get a bit graphic. I must warn the viewers. So we're going to look at a talkout experience for some of our women in Goroka and in West Sepik. Let's go to the talkout.
Papua New Guinea is renowned world over for its cultures and its pristine environment, an island paradise. But even paradises have their hidden secrets, and for Papua New Guinea, it's violence against women and children. Actual figures of violence against women and children in Papua New Guinea are unknown, but recent estimates show that more than 2/3 of families have experienced violence, either at home or in public. Every woman in Papua New Guinea has her story, or her mother's, sisters, aunties, cousins, or best friend's story of her experience of violence.
Mipla Mary Mipla no got voice. Money look lo Mipla go down.
Olpaiti Mipla lo eto leko ano suo stiko aino tamio ko ani something. All putim lo skin bla Mipla big la pain.
Mi bin stab na mi ai lo disla one pla. Papa bit paiti mama time mama got there. And paiti mem kiki mem mama irausim fopla mun pikinini lo bel.
Last year straight I mean paiti mi. I mean you see bat lo gan lo broke head lo me. So me been stop on the blood house. I'm not even see me go la house sick lo give him treatment lo me. So me pili mo sem one time bem kill me.
Smila kola police station na mingoya na bian meeting him. Same stop na mistabia na minugan go.
Violence against women and children is more than just a women's issue. It affects livelihoods, education, health, and other development areas. Addressing this issue requires collaboration from various stakeholders, including police, health services, and the courts, all of which face their own unique challenges.
I think that we need family support centers at all hospitals in the country, because we as one organization cannot be able to address this issue in just one place.
Our patients that come in here, if they need overnight admission, we don't have a safe house in town to keep these women, so we just keep them in the wards.
Key challenges that this family and sexual violence unit we encounter is we lack manpower and resources.
We set through by halve mibla try ko long low street police in na halve mibla sen mibla panim sambla way where by mibla ken kisim halve mi kam na inabla kisim sila man ko street lo ko to kalabus.
Through community-based trainings, women and men are mobilizing themselves into action groups to support community mobilizers and work together to end violence against women and children. These actions are helping men to realize that their negative attitudes towards and treatment of women and children must change.
Country change, sablakan lol sem stab. Natami wogam awareness lo display long so mol all helping bolchim lausik. Nami so mol sel bolchim lo police station now. All get all savalo display now. Planting now and also all money no more paiti meri now.
So now all money feeling fret long all paiti meri now. All money now ECC. Passing the paiti meri now we will select. Plenty money no paiti meri only respect meri.
Na miligo mosem sila project am coming set so miligo lo community to so miligo mosem drains park rave toknungot am stop down na miligo sem am straight Sila project show kami chat na or sila violence mo go down.
One pla lik voice, suppose em bung wan tenar pla 5 pla na 10 pla, em ken make big pla voice threat. Na all kita lain ken arim, na place em ken kuria tu. You all meri sanap now.
The stories of these individuals, communities, and officials prove that cultural norms about violence and the role of women are not static. When men and women stand together to prevent injustice, the once unimaginable can happen. Initiatives like Community Lukauti Molmeri and others are inspiring people to dream of a safer and more secure world for women and children, and empowering them to realize that dream through action. While violence against women and children is unfortunately predicted to remain a serious issue in Papua New Guinea for the near future, it does not need to be that way. Each person who stands up and speaks out against violence removes a brick from the foundation that has long supported the oppression of women in our society. Together we will transform the state of violence against women and children. The change starts with each of us, and it can start now if you want it to.
Let's talk about that. Why is violence against women so prevalent in our society? I start with you. People.
Yeah, that's a question I ask myself. Because, when you look at your traditional societies, land and women are always protected. You don't hear about the rape in our cultures, in the 60s or even back then. But why is it so prevalent now? And, being an advocate for women with disabilities, when you talk about gender-based violence, a lot of our women with disabilities do not have access to enough justice. Say, for example, a woman, I think in some years back I read in the papers, there was a girl with intellectual disability in Bougainville. Because she could not even talk or express herself, she was brought to the police station. And, the justice system just said, take her back to the village and, look for compensation. But, this woman, she is a human being. And this is the issue that a lot of our women with disabilities are facing in the country, even children with disabilities, young girls, where they are kept. The family themselves are the perpetrators. A lot of our young people with disabilities, and especially women and girls, within the whole family, they fear the social safety net that they are supposed to be protected from. And so when you look at, women, gender-based violence, it's actually also contributing to the prevalence of disability in this country as well. The men, they have to cut their hands so the woman will have an amputated arm or leg, or even contributing to the child becoming disabled as well. And so these are the issues. As an advocate for disability, where is the justice system? Where is the justice system? And then we look at, the laws that are being made. We really need to look at it in a holistic approach, trying to address this issue of gender-based violence. I was just watching this, the talk out, this little video. And when you see that the men are actually coming and working with the women, that the issues are brought, people are beginning to see it and trying to do something about it. So I think we really need to go back and try to learn about our cultures and how we manage it then. And trying to see, because a lot of times we try to bring in, external ways of how we deal with the issues. We have support from maybe, the UN Women, but when they go back, we are still with the same issues. So how are we going to look at these issues within the country? We really need to revisit our cultures, the good things about our cultures, and maybe try to see how we can merge the two together.
Thank you, Ipo.
I agree. I totally agree with that point. And I commend the men like Ian that advocate for women's issues. I think when we realize that it's a human issue and not just a women's issue or a girl's issue, then things will change. And I think the most times when we see a lot of change is when the men get involved as well. And also, you know, some people think, amongst women too, some people think that it's a married women's issue or older women's issue. The young women too, it's an issue for you. One day you might be faced with that, so everybody needs to get in.
I think our priority is to work with our men and boys, is to have an attitude change. And as I've said in my introduction, it's an identity crisis because everyone wants to go to education, everyone wants to get a job. And when he does not find a job, he's restless. His energy is lost somewhere else. And he wants to do something, so he look at the weaker one. And who is the weaker one? Us women, or even men too, you know? And we need to educate them to value themselves, is to care again, the once caring society your great-grandparents had before. People made a lovely statement. We never had sexual violence or rape. Men defended Papua New Guinean women. They could walk because they knew that there was a one talk or a friend next door village. Now they cannot walk. What happened? It's this cultural difference. Introduce faith-based system that divide every single culture up. Education who prompt us to believe that I'll be a doctor, I'll be a teacher. Those are false expectations. And it's a crisis in itself. I'm thankful to have a governor here, and she's appealing to donors that look at success project, who is doing what, and who are doing or delivering results, and how are we doing it and delivering results. And so the issue on violence against women, we will still be the same unless we have people like our governor here who had an experience to speak on the rights of women and who is not delivering something because he has the money to do it, so he can make the decision. What about other men like him? What about like me? I'm doing something who do not have the support of the government of Papua New Guinea. And the violence are still there. And my preaching to my youths is that, you know, don't think about sex. Don't think about sexual intercourse. Think about sex in doing what you believe you can do. You're a man on the go out and do something. Go to your cocoa garden and think about having sex with those cocoa trees, having a good production. You may laugh, but the sex is believing in what you want to do. Sex is not just intercourses. That's where we believe in that intercourse, and you see a lovely woman walking down there and you said, okay, I can strip her. You know, why can't you strip yourself and value yourself and do something positive within yourself? Then we will talk about violence.
Okay, yeah, actually what Mama Monica is trying to get across is that for us men here, are we having any men in the room? Yes, okay.
We are.
For us, using your masculinity to complement the work of women folks. Take it. So, what she really wants to say is that now we men must take ownership of this issue and stop stepping out and stepping forward. All right? The first thing that we need to do is change our mindset, get the language right, and get it rolling. Talk to another man next to you. Hey, buddy, that's wrong. Do it right. And then this person will change another, and eventually we can change the entire community, or eventually the world. So, coming back to that, I would like to say that we, Oxfam, we have a program called Men and Boys Outreach Program. It's a component, it's funded to all our program partners on the ground. So every civil society that we fund under the Gender Justice Program, and again, I would come for one program alone, that's Gender Justice. Sorry, my executive director is here. I'm not talking about all three programs. So, yes, so for gender justice, we have this component we call Men and Boys Outreach Program, where we have men, we train village court magistrate, councillors, ward councillors, all the leaders where we find as key people on the ground, we train them, they become male champions. They become man champions or male advocates. These are the men that stand in front of all these issues of gender-based and domestic violence. So, in doing so, I think last year, if I can get it correctly, about more than 5,000 men we've reached out. And in doing so, one of our local partners that we support outside of Port Moresby, the number has increased for people coming in for counseling and other services. So that's what we are saying. Huh? Maybe the information is not getting it right down there at the community level, my good governor. And maybe we need to work together, like you have already said, using our existing structure and roll it out. With the FSVAC coming on board already on the ground in the provinces that we have, please, let's just work together with them. These are the structures that we are talking about. Resource those structures. Put them up. I just hear a policeman up in Western Islands saying that he doesn't have manpower and doesn't have the resources. That's what I'm saying. Yeah? If we can divert all the resources into those areas, then I'm pretty sure we can bring on some results.
Thank you, Ian. You're watching Tanim Graun, and we're talking Is Life Improving for Women in Papua New Guinea? Let's go to an audience question, and I'll ask Isabella if you can ask your question, please.
The question is for Ian, but it's also for the other NGO on the panel. You've already talked about some of the activities that Oxfam is doing for gender-based, in addressing gender-based issues. Maybe you'd like to explain some of the perspectives that Oxfam has on gender-based violence and sorcery offences in the country, and maybe the panel would like to help you with what the other NGOs can do about this also.
Thank you, Isabella. Ian?
Thank you. Question from the audience. Basically, like I said earlier on, for Oxfam's stand in terms of gender justice or ending violence against women in Papua New Guinea, we are currently working towards trying to get also government, especially government, because like I said, for us, international donors and those that come from outside of foreign aid or foreign policies, we won't be here for the next 100, 200 years. Remember this. Papua New Guinea government will be here for the next 2,000 years, all right? So, meaning that as we work along, yeah, we have to develop some kind of sustainable plan, or we got to have sustainable plan in place so that once these foreign aid policies are phasing out, then eventually the localized program is taking over. It's taking ownership. It's beginning to stand up on its 2 feet, beginning to resource it, beginning to start putting mechanics in place, starting to understand who is playing what and who is doing what, beginning to start sharing resources and information. This only, we will see a lot of changes. Because by now, if we are working in isolation, I'm pretty sure that with Oxfam's point of view, we are also struggling by not working with partnership. We believe in partnership. Working together, we can address a lot of things and with less resources. Because everybody will be putting their heads and putting their resources together to address this big issue of violence. Coming back to the national perspective with the government agency, I think I mentioned about the FSVAC. We've got a provincial, and we are also encouraging to have the secretariat of its own. So this secretariat will coordinate all the different players within the provinces, okay? And within those provinces, these are the police that we are talking about. They gotta be there. The court, they gotta be there. The justice need to be done to those who violate the rights of every human being. Not just women and girls, but everyone, including the people that lives with ability, special ability. So, in doing so, if we are to start mobilizing all these mechanics and put them together, resourcing them, like I said earlier on, we'll go a long way. Because by then, everybody will start speaking the same language. Also considering the fact that on sorcery, I think just a while ago, earlier on in the morning, we were trying to set up a National Action Plan Committee for the sorcery-related violence in Papua New Guinea. So I think that's a good stepping a step forward now to address this extreme violence in terms of sorcery. So once this action is in place, I'm pretty sure that I think a lot of mechanics and resources are going to be put aside so that we can also address the problem of sorcery. Because yes, now at this time, people are just taking a back stand. Even I had 2 cases from New Guinea Islands. One of the policemen was there just standing idle, yeah, and couldn't do much. So these are some of the things that I hope that we'll work together in order to address.
Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in on that? No? Okay, let's move on. Ipul, what about disabled women? Are they even more likely to become victims? What's your experience?
Of gender-based violence, of sorcery, I think yes. And I said that it's the issue of, the security, the social safety net that they look up to. And so in terms of violence, it's happening within their families, within the communities. But where would they go? And that's the issue. But again, even when they're fronted up at the justice system, it's the issue of accessibility to information. If a woman with hearing impaired, she's hearing impaired when she fronts up, communicating with the woman itself. And so we need to set up systems in place in terms of translating services. And there's a lot that we could do. And as an organization that I lead, that's our role. We promote, we develop trainings on how we can communicate with people with disabilities. There are other organizations like the Kalan Services that they have translators associations where they can provide those resources available. And so I guess we cannot say, we cannot be able to help them. We just need to know where to go to. We just need to know where to go to. And if it's not available, then we have to create that. And so the resources that are available to help access to justice is really the issue that we lack in this country. A lot of our girls are not going to school because of the issues of security, the issues of access to accessible books or even toilets that are not good for them. So when someone is in a wheelchair and you expect them to go and squat in a pit toilet, it's inaccessible. And so all this issue of accessibility. So for us as an organization, when we want to advocate for access to anything, we really need to work closely with our organization so that we can start to pave the way forward. So it requires partnership.
Thank you. Let's move on. We're going to see another talk out now. This is about economic empowerment for women. And we're going to see Sarah Howder Todd.
They're always promoting that women should be in business, empowered. There's a lot of opportunities out there. But I also believe that if you don't have a strong family base or support, that is also going to work against you. Having said that, I also know a lot of single mothers in Papua New Guinea who are resilient and who are also successful in running their own business. But in my own personal case, I can't speak for others, that I have a very supportive husband and family extended to, who support and who are all part and parcel of my business. So it's not only about me anymore, it's about my husband, my children, my brothers and sisters, and my in-laws, and it's a whole big family affair. And then my employees, 300 of them, have now become my extended family. It's a little bit of a culture now. and that we have to stand back to back and support each other. That's the way we're going to survive.
My previous company, I was the only female working in a group of like 10 to 15 guys. But since starting with Leva Clean, it's like I've started working with women again. And the good thing about working in Sarah's company is that she gives us like room to explore, to, develop ourselves. If we want to do something to improve on the work we are doing, she gives us that room. So for me, it's really inspiring to especially come back and work. Like even though it's a cleaning company, I'd say it's one of the good jobs that I've been in, working as a quality assurance officer here with Sarah.
Well, when we look around and see that women are still suffering from violence, it's a struggle financially. They got to walk miles and miles and miles to get, access to health, good quality health services. I would say that we still have a long way to go. We haven't even accomplished any of those targets 15 years on. I'd like to say no. Yes and no. Yes for some of us in the cities, but no for the majority of the women in this country.
No one want the senis come up. This is a house you can stop. Or same that's all working longer me stop. No one want the senis come up. You know what maintenance? No got extent to. Now sit, Mr. Sit down here, Mr. Come give me sick man now, Mr. Set up now, Mr. Walk. Space you know big pla. Me looking sick man the same half now, me give him marasin the same half now, me give him suit the same half. Walk low night, walk low sun, no malolo blow me. Now me no malolo. Now I'm 2 o'clock now, me walk low morning go now 2 o'clock I be no now, me no lunch. Me a mamas na plaka in win mo kata mamas.
This is how you do it. Talk about you.
Powerful stuff.
Tanim Graun.
Charlene, tell us about your project and the economic empowerment of women that you are doing.
Well, I touched on this earlier. With our partners, the International Trade Center, the Australian government, and Small Medium Enterprise Corporation, everyone that's involved in this project, we firmly believe, and I think a lot of women will agree with me, that you empower women, you empower women, you empower a community, you empower the nation at the end of the day, because women spend their money in their homes, on their families, and
that doesn't say a lot about our men, does it?
No, it doesn't. And
where do we spend our money?
On alcohol and abusing women.
Oh my goodness.
That's a general statement. But the women have been known. The women that we have come across in our project, in our Billum project so far. We go and we conduct. We have been conducting workshops with these women, and a lot of these women are single mothers. A lot of them are widows, and they have children. They also have grandchildren that they take care of, and a lot of them make a considerable amount of their income from selling bilum and other handicraft items or agricultural produce or looking after livestock like pigs. And
Any particular success stories you want to tell us about?
yes, there has been a success story. I was going to share after Monica made the statement about not just going in to buy blooms, but to make sure we understand what these women are facing every day. There has been a case where one of the women that attended the training came and told us about her husband realizing that she makes more than him. And at first he didn't want to allow her to come to the workshop, but then when he realized that what she was learning, she was implementing straight away and bringing in more income than he was. So he sent her off one day to the training and he said, that's okay, you go along and you train and don't worry about coming back too early. I'll make sure I feed the pigs and the children, and I'll cook you dinner and I'll have that ready. You just go and learn what you need to do. So we're finding that as these women are empowered to improve their skill and bring in income, the men are realizing they may not want to look at the women initially as a boss, as someone that's going to tell them what to do or take care of them financially. But once they start realizing that, they realize the importance of the woman in their household, and that in turn changes. As a partner.
Thank you. Okay, now unfortunately, we're running out of time. This discussion got so interesting. And I'm going to ask the last question now, which is, and before I do, I want to tell everyone that's watching from around the country, particularly those that are going to be seeing this on TV, all the young girls, maybe talk to mom, talk to grandma. Time to learn, huh?
Yes, time to learn.
How can we make space for women at the decision-making table to take PNG forward? That's my final question to the panel. I'll start with you, Governor.
Thank you, Alan. That's a very good question, and it's also very important to have women be at the senior decision-making position and also be in politics. It's very important. It's only 3 of us now in the government, and I think the 3 is not enough. We need to have more women in parliament, and we need to have more women in the public administration position at the senior levels. We need more women up there because women, we are transparent, we are accountable, and we believe in good governance. And that's what our nation needs.
You're not saying your male colleagues don't believe in
No, our male colleagues, they believe in accountability, transparency, and they practice. Most of them practice accountability, transparency. But for me, I see within my own, what I'm doing now as a governor, what is given for the people, we make sure and ensure that it reaches the people. So for me, like being a mother, my campaign platform was one which I used to say during my campaign time, which is in Pidgin. I'll say it in Pidgin, or it's okay, I'll say it in English. But a mother is the manager of the kitchen. She cooks, and in that one pot, she can serve 5 in the family: the husband, the wife, and the 3 children. But if the husband brings along another 2 visitors in the house, even though that pot, that preparation of the food that evening was for the 5, the mother can still manage for another extra 2 plates for the 2 visitors who comes in the house. So therefore, I'm believing in women to get into politics. I'm believing in women to get into senior decision-making levels so that we can think of our people. We know how we can share, as a mother shares the food and thinks of the extra mouth that comes in the house, the visitor and that. So I believe in a woman given that special position so that they have the heart to give and serve and share with so many. Therefore, I want women to get into the decision-making levels, administratively and politically.
I think with that, we've run out of time. You've all heard of the serious issues and challenges and the emerging challenges for our women in PNG, there is no doubt that much can be done, and us men in particular have a responsibility to respect and acknowledge the rights of our women. In these 16 days of human rights activism against gender-based violence, we hope Tanim Graun has helped shine a light on some of the issues and contributed to this debate. That's all we have time for. Please join me in thanking this wonderful panel. I start with Honorable Julie Soso. I'm so glad we got you on. Monica and Ian, it was wonderful having the two of you here. Ipul, Torek, and Charlene, thank you very much. Now, because it's a special Tanim Graun this month, and particularly for you television viewers around the country, we are looking for your feedback. We'd like you to visit our Facebook page and complete a short survey about the show. The first 20 respondents will receive a 20 kina phone top-up. You can visit our website on www.epsp.org to discuss tonight's topic or contribute on Twitter using the Tanim Graun hashtag. We hope you can join us next time on our show, Tanim Graun, Natingin, Tok Tok Bloyu by Tanim Graun. Thank you very much.